Good evening. Waiting for people to join us. Creative, what up, Miss Creative? Calm before the storm. Thanks for joining us. Crimson Candy, what's up? Kara, what's going on? What's going on? So it's another Wednesday with Wes. Hope you guys have had a great day. It's hot outside. It was hot outside. It was crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys are home, relaxed, or wherever you're at. You know, you're properly hydrated, and you're ready to turn up the heat as it relates to the conversation this evening. I'm looking forward to getting some really good questions and comments and all that other good stuff. Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson, what up with you? Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Send a shout out to my boy Morgan, man. You know, I see you guys doing it real big, and I'm really proud of all that you're doing. So, who else is on the line with us? But I see we got a small group, and it's growing. Southern Bird, what's going on? Southern Bling, what's going on? How you doing? All right. So, if you're just now tuning in, this is Wednesdays with Wes. MFly49, what up with you? How you doing? Hope all is well. Thank you for joining me in this very warm July evening. It is Wednesday, and we're looking forward to having some really great dialogue about relationships, all things relationships. Doesn't matter what your status is. It doesn't matter if you're single, married, separated, divorced, if you're out there or if you're celibate. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment, no barriers here. We just want to have some really good conversation. Bolden, what's going on? Hopeful, what's going on? I see you. Thanks for joining us. All right. My name is Donovan West. I'm your host. At times, I'm your curator. It depends on the situation, but thanks for joining us here on the Relationship Script as we talk about all things relationship. This is just something in between the events that we do at the Relationship Script, where we talk about relationships in a number of different ways. We encourage the dialogue between, all the powers that be, and try to encourage. I don't want to say try. We do encourage, clear communication, courageous communication, as Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson would normally say, and facilitate dialogue and greater transparency. So I'm hopeful that you all will join me on this journey this evening as we talk more about relationships. And the only way that we can do that, by the way, is by you participating. So I'm looking forward to your questions, your comments, your criticisms at times, situations. It doesn't matter, really. It really doesn't. And for whatever reason, if you have a question or comment that you would like to, share, but you want it to be, confidential, send it via DM, and my team will put it on this thread so that I can read that question. Okay? How about that? Does that make sense? I hope all is well. Fly49, what's going on? I see you. Oh, okay, you reaching out to Morgan as well. Okay, small world. That's what's up. Duchess, what's going on, babe? I see you. Anyway, all questions are, we're really asking you to, whatever the question doesn't have to be anything specific on relationships. In the future, what we are going to have is certain topics that we want to discuss and be more specific about what it is that we're going to focus on. But for the first handful of weeks, what we're doing is just making it a free-for-all in terms of what are the questions that you may have, what are some past situations or scenarios that you might want a different perspective on, as well as if there's something that you want to contribute to the conversation. If I make a comment, cool. Oh, I see you, McFly49. You are Morgan. My bad. I didn't. You know how we roll. We typically are calling and texting, so my apologies. But it's good to hear from you, good brother. Ready for relationships. What's going on, Adam? I see you. Accomplished author, extraordinaire, counselor extraordinaire. So thanks for joining us as well. But again, this is relationship-focused dialogue. So, and the only way we can have the dialogue is if you join us, okay? And what I mean by joining us is by way of questions, comments, concerns, sometimes criticisms. It doesn't matter on the topic. Just go ahead and let's make this thing relevant. And the way that we make that relevant, by the way, is being reflective of what your interests, your concerns are. Okay, so who wants to step up first and ask a question? Any question at all? Because again, what's beautiful about this is I have some other accomplished practitioners on this thread that are going to also chime in, I'm pretty sure, on their thoughts on the different topics that we're going to have. But one thing that I like to do is just a matter of how I move, because I often want to have dialogue that is reflective of your interests and something that's relevant to you. And so while I can come up with a laundry list of topics that I just want to talk about arbitrarily, I'd like this conversation, as I have in the past, to be guided by what some of your interests are and some of your thoughts are as it relates to relationships. So, please don't be shy. I'm going to knock on wood when I say that it's all adults here. So, the better you are at being transparent, the better we can have some really good dialogue. So, I do also have this bag, and in this bag are some questions from our last relationship script. As I mentioned before, we have an event called the Relationship Script. If you haven't been before, this is an event where we encourage dialogue between all the powers that be when it comes to relationships, regardless of your relationship status. And one of the sections or one of the activities that we have at the Relationship Script is called Random and Anonymous. And that's when we ask you to fill out a 3x5 card, one of these types of cards, and just do not write your name. We don't care about that. We don't do any handwriting analysis. We just ask you to write a question. It could be about a certain situation or scenario or whatever, and just drop it into this bag. And what myself and my colleagues do at the event is we pull the question out the bag and we answer the question. So again, you go to the event not to just hear us talk, it's to actually have some dialogue. And the way that you can have dialogue in that kind of setting and also feel like it can be done in confidence is by way of that random and anonymous segment of our show. So I'm going to pull on something here, and in the meantime, shout out to everybody that's tuned in so far, and I'm going to go ahead and ask one of these questions. Okay, it says, why do men who are in a relationship feel that they can use social media to still look for someone outside of the relationship? Well, any person that's looking for someone outside of the relationship, period, doesn't matter what the medium is, the tool that they're using, feeling that way is just wrong, period. Okay, by using social media, if you're saying that they're using it to find someone outside of a relationship, the fact that it's social media really doesn't matter. It's just another tool to do something that's wrong. So using social media to engage other people, that's one thing. Now, if you're talking about someone liking on a picture or whatever, I think it's very important that you you and your mate determine what are the rules of engagement. And what I mean by that is that you don't just say, oh, I don't want you to slide in anyone's DM. That's not enough. Or I don't want you to inbox anyone. You have to go a little bit further in terms of liking pictures. Is that a form of flirting to you? You have to define that. And that's something that you have to have some very specific and explicit conversation with your significant other in terms of what does that really mean when you're on social media. For certain relationships, you may want to just ban social media. If you have an experience where, this person, your significant other is out there in people's DMs, sliding all over the place and doing, whatever, you may want to ban it or do what I would say in that situation, and that is cut it all together. Because at the end of the day, it's not a matter of removing the tool. As your question focuses on social media, the fact that they're just out there, period, is something that you just need to actually discuss and come to a conclusion that you need to, let that out, let that relationship go where it needs to go. All right. So what's up, Rob? Thanks for joining us. Jam Down Lady, what's up? I see pausing and jumping, so I guess that might be the connection. I hope that it's a little bit more clear. Please, if you're having issues with connection or hearing what I'm saying, please let me know. I hope it's getting better, but we haven't had any other complaints, so I'm going to assume all is good. So if you're just now tuning in, this is the Relationship Scripts Wednesday with Wes, all right? And we want to hear from you. I'd like to hear your questions, and if you can go ahead. Cats, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Miss Missy, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. But we want to hear your questions. We don't want you just to look and wait for other people to ask a question. No, what about you? What about your question or concern? What's something that's irking you? What makes you, say, I don't know. And perhaps maybe we can, I can provide some additional context for, what's happening or a different perspective perhaps. Using social media is another form of creeping. There's underlying issues as to the root cause for cheating. I totally agree with you, Morgan. I really agree with you on that. Cats, what's going on? I see you. And you're saying hello to the room. That's what's up. But I want to hear from you, Cats. Cats, you always hit me with some really good questions. So I'm looking forward to seeing something up on this thread very shortly. But I totally agree with you, Morgan, on that, underlying issues for cheating. Social media is just the latest opportunity or tool, so to speak, to do that. But, you need to focus really on what's the core issue there. And it's not social media, by the way. Social media does allow greater access, but, the reality of it is that, he could walk outside and do what he was going to do, right? So I got some questions that were posed in the DM. Thank you very much. And I'm going to read one of them. What are your thoughts on Chris Brown calling black women who are brown-skinned darkies? Well, man, wow. So Chris Brown said a couple of things, right? That, he's only effing with the black bitches, right? And I have a problem with that, period, with good hair or something to that effect, right? So there's a lot there in terms of, how he's describing women, and why they have to be, bitches, why they have to, why they have to have good hair, what is good hair, and, this whole thing around, just referring to them as that. And then more importantly, how everyone focuses on, the darky part or whatever, but it's like, why are you describing women, period, at all in this capacity? I think I have a serious issue with that. So what I would do if I was, someone that saw that about Chris Brown is I let Chris Brown, be by himself and not give him any energy. Unfortunately, he's perpetuating, very negative image of entertainers, negative image of black men, as well as perpetuating a very negative perspective on black women, and more importantly, also creating some division amongst those who are still taking him seriously. So I wouldn't take him seriously. If you want to listen to his music, cool, and watch him dance and all that, then cool. But as for anything he actually has to say that's not on, with a soundtrack, I really am not interested. I don't pay to listen to him talk, and I'm not going to take anything he says seriously, because he's not a thinker. He's an entertainer and a singer more specifically. So just sing, stop talking. That's my opinion of Chris Brown in that situation. Let's see, what else we got here? Let's see. How important is it for your significant other to support you in your career success? Well, RTJ, thanks for asking that question. The number one thing that I think is when it comes to your success, your career, is that you have someone that you can confide in, that you can talk to about what some of your concerns or fears are as you're making moves. So I think it's very important that your significant other is there to support you, on your career path, that they believe in you, that they inspire you, that they motivate you, that they provide some additional perspective as to what else may be out there, some things to consider, that they become a sounding board also as you're talking about different opportunities. Even when you're talking about marketing yourself, right? There's certain things or blind spots that you may have that they might be able to identify, and you want to have someone in your corner that you trust when it comes to having that dialogue. Also, more importantly, the more vested that your significant other is when it comes to your career, the better you create of a what I would say an intimate situation when it comes to career related discussions. We often talk about our workplace husband, our workplace wifey, that kind of situation. And part of the gap that forms is when you start thinking about anything that's career oriented or something that's really that you're passionate about, that's in the career component or industry. That being something that you really can't talk to your significant other about. And that's what creates a gap in many instances, because you feel like they're not going to understand, or they're not going to provide the kind of support or energy that you may need. So I think it's extremely important, if you can, to just find some common ground. They may not be interested in all the nuances and intricacies of your business or your job, your responsibilities, but that's not it. Are they interested in you? And if they're interested in you and you following your passion, your goal, reaching certain goals and agendas that you have, from a career standpoint, absolutely they should be vested in that from that level. All right. So Kara, I see you. You say it's pausing and stopping as well, jumping slightly. We're going to see what that issue is. I'm not sure what it is, but on our end, there doesn't seem to be any disruption. So I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully it gets a little bit better. Miss Creative, you said Chris Brown is ignorant. I totally agree. Ali, you said colorism is still an issue, and Chris Brown made it clear in his videos years ago. I totally agree. That light skin versus dark skin situation is crazy. We have to make sure that at the end of the day, we're conscious of the fact that, it's an ignorant mindset. It's old, and it needs to go. And the only way that it goes is we respond to it in a way, in terms of saying we don't approve of that. And that's about it. Other than that, let people be in terms of how ignorant they are. Unfortunately, for him to say those things says also a lot about his circle. So somebody, should be there that he trusts to be able to help mentor him a little bit to evolve his thinking. But if no one's around in that space, if there's not a village that he trusts to help guide him in that way, we have to also, back up from supporting, people who have such damaging views of our women. Period. That's just my thoughts on that. So you may agree or disagree. I'm all ears. I'm all ears on that topic, but I don't want to focus too much energy on somebody who's really not really thinking about us. Self-hatred, I hear you on that. It is self-hatred. This has plagued our community. This has plagued our community since slavery. You're absolutely right. Hot Face, what's going on? All things Tamara, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. I totally agree with what you guys are sharing, and please continue with additional questions. I hear you, Miss Creative. You say your significant other should be your greatest cheerleader. I totally agree with you on that. They're the person that you should call first when it comes to achievements. Also call first when it comes to defeats, and someone that you can take off your armor, right? Take off your mask and be able to communicate with about where your challenges are. I totally agree with you on that. Southern Girl, you said people need to stop letting what these people in entertainment say matter. I agree. And, by the amount of attention that we give it, we tend to, perpetuate that same negative, message. I totally agree. Miss Moore, what's going on? I see you. Mike, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Thanks, RTJ, for agreeing 100%. There is nothing you can do about it. I agree with you, Mr. 49. I appreciate your commentary on that. You just have to keep going. I totally agree with you on that. Jess, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Lydia, thanks for joining us. So anybody else have any more questions, though? I want to hear from you. Oh, sorry. Look at me. I'm okay. My team gave me another one to read here. So it says, hi there. I have a question for Wednesday's live feed, but I don't want to ask it live. On the 4th, my girlfriends and I watched Love by the 10th Date with Megan Good. The movie brought up lots of dialogue, but unfortunately, there were no men in the room. My question is surrounding being open to dating someone who is bisexual. A man will date and marry a bisexual woman, but what are your thoughts on a woman being open to dating a man who is bisexual? Please note this is not my personal question. I'm just the only one brave enough to ask about it to the group. Well, you gotta, that's the question is really more about what's your perspective on it. For me, if you're dating someone that's bisexual, at the end of the day, you got to be able to say, okay, can you handle the idea that this person is not just going to be, someone that's attracted to you, but also attracted to someone of the same sex? Is that something that you can handle? Often is the case where you have to really come back to this one thing, and that is, how are you defining your relationship? And how you define your relationship is really based off of your beliefs, and you have to be able to be brave enough to communicate what your beliefs are. If at the end of the day you're going to have a problem with that, then you need not to be in that situation at all. You need not to consider it. If you're okay with that, what are your preferences, right? If you're a person that's straight and you're saying that you're going to date someone that's bisexual, is that something that you're okay with? And, how do you really feel about that? And if you're considering it, why are you considering it? Is it something because you truly are open to it? You're comfortable? Or are you settling because this is someone that you really think is great? You really feel good around them, blah, blah, blah. But, right? And here's this big but, right? As my mentors say, all butts stink, right? In this situation, there's a but, right? This person is not 100% attracted to you in that sense in terms of, women versus, men and women. And if that's something that you're settling for, I would say back up out of it. If you truly are in the mindset and, I'm open, then, have at it, but that's your choice to make. And your choice is going to be based off of your beliefs. Your beliefs, you need to communicate them and be very clear with them, not just with yourself, but also in terms of what your standards are when you're engaging with someone who shares something about themselves, like being bisexual with you, okay? To each their own, and in that situation, I guess you're going to have many. Pinette, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Cash, I see you with a question. What do you think is the best way to ask a new boyfriend or girlfriend about being tested for HIV before intimacy? Some people think you are being offensive when you ask, and like it's none of your business. No, I think you should ask right away. So what's the best way? Okay, you ready? When was the last time you was tested? I'm listening. No, real talk. That's I don't think you need to mince words. I don't think you need to say, baby. So I was thinking, before we go there, can you let me know, or can you go to the doctor? Can you do that for me, please? No, this is what my expectations are. And I'd like you to get checked out. When was the last time that you get checked out? And can you show me the report? Can you show me, right now, today, if you get checked out, you should sign up for a portal with your little membership, and you should be able to pull it up on your smartphone and be able to say, here's what the results of my testing, and that shouldn't be an issue at all. If someone is running away from that, then you have a problem. But if someone is interested in being intimate with you, and this is what your requirement is, I don't think there's anything wrong with waiting for them to do that. It doesn't take long to get a test, to get tested. So do it. And I would say to get the full screening of tests, as opposed to just an HIV. Get a full screening of tests. Because it's what you should do. We maintain our cars and other things. Why aren't we maintaining our body in the same way? And why aren't we, making sure that before we get into that type of situation, that the coast is clear, so to speak. So let me see what else we have here. I hope I answered your question there. So Miss Creative, you said, I think bisexual people should date bisexual people. Okay, I hear you. Jam Down Lady said, how do I approach my man if I want to try something different in the bedroom, which he may or may not be open to? Well, the first thing is to get away from your assumptions and get to, actually, the courageous conversation that you need to have. Many times, we stay in our minds, and that's a dangerous place to be. We make a bunch of assumptions, and most of those assumptions are going to be based off of fear, by the way. So, nothing beats a failure but a try. And in this situation, I would say, have the conversation. Hey babe, I was thinking this, or, what are your thoughts about that? is it an automatic? No, it's not an automatic. And then to some extent, you may have to take your time in terms of introducing them to some other thoughts that you have when it comes to the bedroom. Change is scary in any environment. Okay, whether you're talking about the workplace, or you're talking about a club that you belong to, or you're talking about your relationship. As you introduce change, please understand that 9 out of 10 forms of change are going to be met with some kind of resistance because we're creatures of habit. So just understanding that it may not be a matter of that person not being into it. It may be a matter of this person just embracing change. And many of us don't embrace change. So I would say have the conversation in a way where you're having some open-ended questions, not that, hey, I want to do this, and so what's up? Don't be aggressive about it. Just ask, and then kind of ease into it. And what are your thoughts? Blah blah, and basically ask for an opportunity, a trial, right? If you will, if they be brave enough to do that, and most importantly, also explain why this is important to you. Again, in loving someone, part of that is that you focus on them and not yourself. And so hopefully if you have that kind of relationship, this person will see how important it is to you and consider it. Hopefully you're not suggesting anything too crazy. No one's going to get hurt, but you get where I'm going with that, all right? Miss Creative says, I would definitely have a problem with the thought of my man being with another man. I hear you. Pinat, great answer. Thank you very much. Cats, I see you. I see UNCRX. You reaching out to Cats saying, ask do they have sex with men, women, or both? State you want both of you to remain healthy, so that you need to get tested because you want to keep each other safe because you care. I like that approach very much. Again, you're coming from a place of concern, so people aren't in a defensive space, and I don't suggest that you put anyone in a space where they're going to identify with how you delivered the message too much as being a distraction from really what it is that you would like to do. And that is, you're talking about them being responsible and you being responsible, and you're creating the kind of atmosphere where at the end of the day, the environment is an environment of trust, and you want to establish that environment of trust, and not in a way that is subjective, but objective, right? A test that's as black and white as it gets. Artina, I see you. You say yes. Be honest with yourself. Good. Fly 49. Maybe she has curiosities and not desire of her own sexuality or something. Clean that up for me. Come back to me on that one, okay? So I can understand clearly what you're saying. Being straightforward. Yes, I think you should be straightforward. Before sex with both people should go get tested together. I totally agree with that. Create an environment and let them know that you're not pointing at them. You want to walk with them on that process. Southern Bling, you say if you're about to be intimate with a person, trust them with your body. Of course, they shouldn't have a problem getting tested. I agree. But again, there are a lot of people that have apprehensions about taking a test. Again, remember at one point, and for a lot of people still today, taking a test, that's an instant way to start sweating, to start, so I don't know, and some people may be in that space and not understand at the end of the day, this is how you should be. This is about being a grown up and being a responsible person, especially if you plan on being intimate. You said make it a date and have ice cream afterwards. I hear you, Miss Creative. That's that OG talking right there. Have an ice cream or give them a lollipop afterwards, as if they went to the dentist or something. I like that a lot. So I appreciate these questions. And UNCRX, you're right. That's what I was speaking to. Making sure you get the full gamut of everything in terms of what's going on, like chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, simplex 2. Hep B, C, all that stuff. There's a lot going on, not just HIV. So, get checked out. Thanks for dropping them gems. I really appreciate that. And you said, Miss Creative said, just dip them in peroxide. No, you can't just do that. You can't just take, them and drop them in some peroxide. You can't just take some, what's that thing again? Penicillin pills or something like that, and all is well. You can't do that at all. Levant, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I see you 49. So yeah, not sure of her own sexuality, right? That's something that can definitely be a factor in terms of, whether or not you're going to entertain someone that is bisexual. But as for another question, I'm going to read this really quickly. It says, can you unpack the quote, when considering to take back bae, consider the facts when the feelings get in the way? Can you unpack the quote, when considering to take back bae, consider facts when feelings get in the way? Well, someone, I guess, is asking something that I actually put out there. So when considering to take back your bae, a lot of times, what's the context for why you're considering taking this person back? Is it a matter of, the season you're in? Are you lonely? Are you frustrated from, what looks like you're going to, be a long season of being by yourself? Have you reflected on the relationship, and where are you at? So if you're coming from a place of feelings where I miss them, blah blah blah, it's very natural that you're going to feel like you want to get with that person again if you're in that space. Why? Because they represent convenience. They know you. They know your ups and downs. They've been there. You got a lot of different episodes in life and seasons depending on how long you've been together. So I totally understand why you may want to reconnect with that person. So when I talk about facts versus feelings, what are the facts? In terms of, are you guys really a good match? Are you in alignment in terms of how you think, how you communicate, how you love on one another, how you support one another? Do you have your priorities in place? Have you defined a relationship? Are you in a place where, when you are having ups and downs, you can communicate in a way that's healthy? Do you have a common plan? A vision, and are you working towards that? These are a lot of things, that, again, whether you're talking about, a checklist for a healthy relationship, or even just asking yourself these questions and being able to have the answer because you have the experience. Getting away from the feelings and into the facts is very important in terms of keeping you clear, because for a moment you may slip, right? And you know what? It feels good to get back together, and that's it. It feels good. But is it good? That's it. I hope you guys understood where I was going with that particular quote. Let's see what else we have. I didn't want to miss anything in terms of some other comments. Allie, Miss Creative, gets the comedy prize. I agree. Pinet jumped in with the, other castor oil and a whole bunch of other stuff. You guys are clowning. Y'all hilarious. My friends think I'm shallow due to the fact that you don't want to date a man if he doesn't measure up. Well, that's an interesting one. You got to unpack that for me, Cats. Measure up in what way? Are you talking about physically? Are you talking about career-wise? In terms of what he's bringing to the table? He doesn't measure up according to your list, right? That infamous list that many of you have. You know what I'm talking about. How doesn't, this person measure up? And when you say they think that you're shallow, I'm assuming that it's something in the area of something that's material, I'm assuming. But I don't want to assume if I got you right here with us. I want you to unpack that a little bit, all right? Miss Creative, I know you're just having fun. I hear you. Mike the Jank, you still cracking up over the castor oil, right? That's hilarious. RTJ, right? That's kind of scary. They're an ex for a reason. I agree, Allie. They are an ex for a reason. However, I'm not a person that's against reconnecting with your ex, okay? I want to be very clear. I just want you to, if you're reflecting on the relationship, and there were some things that you did, you gotta own your part. You have to own what it is how you contributed to the crisis that then led to a breakup. You have to own your part and be clear about what is it that you did, or the frame of mind or whatever, and what you would do differently. And also, when you're talking with someone, you're talking to your bae that you're thinking about getting back with, well, what's different about them? And if there doesn't seem to be much different, and I'm talking about not just what they're saying, but how they're behaving, that takes some time. So what's the rush? There's no need to. If after some time you're friends and you're communicating and things seem to be a little different in terms of how they're not just thinking, but how they're behaving, perhaps. Maybe it's just an extended honeymoon period. That's for you to discern, by the way. But again, they are your ex for a reason. There may be a season in terms of where you're able to reflect and that person's able to reflect and change some of the behavior. But it also depends on to what degree that did the breakup need to happen, right? Some people break up for things that are rather simple. Others break up for some real significant reasons, So that's for you, again, to unpack a little bit more and go into the details. The details are the facts. Feelings, that's subjective. Okay. So sometimes reconnecting is due to loneliness. I totally agree. Being comfortable and the fear of change will have you back with the bae. I totally agree with you, and that's usually a stagnant situation. If you work with someone and are attracted to them, do you think it's okay to act on it or just leave it work related? Cats, that's a very good question. You're at the workplace, you're checking somebody out. You're single, they're single and available, right? You're single and available. And I say available meaning that, you're ready to date again, all that good stuff. Should you, shoot your shot? The answer to that is it depends. It depends on, are you guys peers? Is this person, someone that works under you or someone that you report to? You got to be real, sensitive to that. That's one thing. If at the end of the day, you guys are peers and there doesn't seem to be an issue structurally, I would say shoot your shot. Why not? Here's the thing, though. Just understand that if it doesn't work out, you need to make sure that it doesn't turn into a situation where your job is in jeopardy, okay? So that's, again, something that you need to think about in terms of, how do you typically break up? And or if it doesn't work out in terms of just the dating aspect of it, how you would, talk about and come up with, a mutual agreement as to how you would move after that, right? So one thing I want to just stress, and we don't talk enough about it, is friendship. You're at the job, they're at the job. Why not be friends? One of the major components to relationships not working out is the lack of friendship that existed prior to the relationship. So I want you to be very clear that if you're not taking that stage, you're rolling the dice. You really want your significant other to be someone that you are in a relationship with, but the relationship that you had first was a friendship. And if you can do that, then, as you heard me say before, I'll see you at the top. But the point of the matter is that friendship really needs to be the glue that helps you navigate through those tough times. When we talked a little bit earlier about someone that believes in you from a career standpoint or someone that is your cheerleader, it starts with friendship. And if you don't have the friendship, well, what happens is other people that are a friend to you, they actually start to rise in priority as you have different episodes in your life where you need a friend to talk to. And again, what happens is that gap turns into a hole. That hole turns into a chasm. And it's very hard to reconnect when it comes to certain situations and episodes in life because you don't have that friendship. So if anything, if you're in a relationship and you're taking inventory and you say, you know what, we're really not friends, make every effort to become friends, okay? And that's going to be a hard conversation to have because you're talking about, removing levels of or fear or anxiety of rejection or things of that nature because you have to appear a certain kind of way in front of your bae, your boo, right? Your significant other. But the reality is if that person really loves you, well, they're going to go through those bumps and bruises, but they should still be there. And if not, then, well, you know what? That relationship isn't meant to be. You should not be in a relationship with someone that you can't be a friend to, period. Your relationship, unfortunately, it's restricted, all right? It's limited. And that's not what you want to have, okay? Remember, some people are looking for help and not love. I totally agree with you. A lot of relationships are, out of convenience and, just being able to be in a space where, someone is caring on you and not necessarily vice versa. And they're, relationships that are born out of, for convenience or something that is comfortable, but not necessarily, what you really want or have a passion for. So you got to be careful about that. Cats, I see you say, if you want to work with someone and attracted to them, do you think, all right, we already talked about that, my bad, comfortability, say that 3 times, I messed up on that. I was just about to say people can change and evolve. People can change and evolve. However, you got to be very careful about why, right? So why are they changing and evolving? And remember, the evolution of an individual is really when you start talking about the permanent, right? Permanent adjustment to a behavior, a modification that's permanent. Evolution doesn't mean, well, okay, I have now just the ability to act right, and then I'm going to slip back into some dumb stuff. That's not what it is. So people can change, but what is the catalyst for change? And the catalyst for change can't be you. It has to be themselves. They have to be able to actually, look in within themselves, take inventory, take introspection, reflect, all that good stuff, and then be able to say, you know what? I need to improve. And the reason I need to improve is because this is really what I believe. This is how this is why I believe that this will contribute to a better quality of life, to me having inner peace, blah, blah, blah. It has to really be something that's internal and integral to their own development, and not based out of fear of losing you. Because that fear, by the way, at some point, there'll be some level of complacency. And through that complacency, they're going to slide back a little bit, because it was never really for them. It was never a part of their daily routine that helps to sustain them internally. And that's extremely important. That's, again, another form of commitment, where if you're committed to yourself and your own development, improving based off of what you see have been past, deficits in terms of your behavior or bad choices, then you have a greater chance of retaining that the whatever actions that you're actually moving forward with. Okay. So what else we have here? So I agree with you, Mike the Gent. What else we got here? So we have Cats. You said that's not shallow. What is having expectations and holding them to a standard. So okay, I hear you, RTJ. You're talking about keeping it 100, being honest with people, intimacy, sexually, measure up in the bedroom, trying to keep it clean. You don't have to keep it clean. You just keep it as is, no frills, straight up with us in terms of what you mean when you're talking about not measuring up. If someone physically it doesn't measure up, it is what it is in that situation. You have a certain standard and they don't meet the standard. Well, they're coming up short, pun intended. But the reality is, at the end of the day, is that, you want to look at your list. And, in certain instances, I would say that most of those things, when it comes to what's on your list of must-haves, with the right person, they'd be willing to meet you there and to please you in that space. But that takes time. It does take time. It takes gelling. But again, right off the bat, if you're saying, you know what, you don't even have the equipment, say less. All right, we're going to move right along on that one, right? Hayes, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Allie, for jumping in on that comment regarding about the exes. It does matter. It does depend on how that relationship ended. What do you do if you suggested therapy to your significant other, but they refuse to go? Fly 49. Listen. They're on the way out the door then. That's how I feel personally. Meaning that if you refuse, why do you refuse? You're talking about having a conversation, and I know culturally we don't like to see therapists. I get it. But the reality is, if your relationship is in danger and your significant other is asking to see a third party, if you don't have a solution, then what you're saying is that you're just going to be a witness to a dead relationship. Your significant other is saying, listen, critical, we need to go to triage, we need to go to the trauma center. We're in danger of this thing blowing up. And I'm in a space right now where I'm willing to explore ways that we can fix this. And if your answer is I don't want to do that, then the only thing I'm going to say to you is, in that situation, what are they suggesting as an alternative? And if the alternative is you talk to some trusted friends and there's a form of intervention or intermediary kind of energy that's jumping off there, okay, it's a form of communication to actually, it's a gesture to fix the relationship. However, if they're not offering anything else in terms of a way to address this, I don't know what to say. If they themselves are saying, you know what, how about we write down how we feel on a piece of paper and then give it to each other? Or how about we start over again? Or how about we do some other activity to help rebuild this relationship? If they're not providing some other way to solve this problem, well, your relationship is DOA, right? It's dead on arrival. So you want to make sure that they understand that A, you identified that this problem is critical. B, you're coming up with a solution. And then C, without any additional dialogue about a solution, well, your days are numbered. And that's my thoughts about that. Mike the Gent, you said measure up. Okay, you still over there with that situation? Okay, hot face. Lydia, I see you cracking up at Mike. Jam Down Lady, thank you very much for the thumbs up. Big Man Culture, Big Mike in the building, what's up? Great advice, thank you very much, Atina. RTJ, you said you work in HR and you've seen too many issues with dating in the workplace. When it works, cool, but when it doesn't work, I'm assuming it's also messy, as well as when it is working, right? Because, well, I don't know how many times you had those, the security videos of what's happening in the, those closets and the stairwells and stuff. But I'm pretty sure that, both ways it can get to be a little bit hectic. Miss Creative, I see you, you said if you work with someone and they never approach you and they try to make a move they never approach you or try to make a move, then I would think that they're not interested unless they're very shy. Well, that's real too, by the way. It's 2019, so if you're a woman out there that's saying, hey, this guy is not interested in me because he didn't approach me, I wouldn't say that, And it's not always just about shy either. Sometimes you got to just look at, how are you moving? Sometimes you may move in a way that may suggest that you're not interested, or that you may have someone or whatever. And I'm not a fan of just making those assumptions. I think that you should, shoot your shot, ask a question or whatever. And that's it, but I wouldn't make the assumption either way. I would, if you are interested in someone, don't waste it on your assumptions. Go ahead and find out by way of a question or paying attention to see if there's other signs of interest. I hear you, Allie, talking about don't ish where you eat. Well, again, if that's what your plan is, if your plan is to ish versus to build, there are a lot of successful relationships that also begin at the workplace. Why? Because there are people that are interested in the same types of things, that have a similar kind of mantra when it comes to how they approach their careers. And so that's not always a bad thing. The thing that you have to really caution for, again, is how much attention you're paying to the details of it. Sometimes, when you really think about it, you're not thinking about how much time you're really spending together. Or now that you're dating this person at the workplace, do you really get to breathe? Many times people enjoy the fact that they don't work together because that separation, that time apart. Doesn't mean that they're going to be out there flirting and gallivanting, but they do enjoy the time apart so that when they do come back together, that they have stuff to talk about and blah, blah, blah. But again, there are a lot of people that also fall into the other category. They can work together. The synergy is on point. And the more that they are actually able to work together, that helps in other levels of intimacy because they're turned on by what's happening up here as well. And that's good. Again, you just have to be the person to discern between, what kind of person are you and move accordingly. Friendships is underrated. You can love a person and like them. I totally agree with you. 49, Fly 49, Morgan in the building. Thanks, well said. I appreciate that. Atif, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. System of Curves, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. What's going on? ITI, I see you. Okay. So, Artina, it says, do you believe soulmates change as we evolve? Who may have been a mate for me at 30 may not be the same at 41. I've grown and evolved. Does that make sense? It does make sense. I mean, however, it depends on your definition of soulmate, right? Soulmates are typically people that, regardless of like the differences you have, there's just this kind of energy that still, keeps you guys bonded, so to speak. And you can't really figure it out. So actually, your soulmate could be someone that you really have nothing in common with, but for some reason that you just click. And there's just this thing. So that's one type of soulmate. The other type of person that you're talking about, the soulmate, I would say that's a person that's around for a season in your life, and they may not necessarily be a soulmate. They may be someone that actually just has certain common things, certain things in common with you. So for instance, I think it was T.D. Jakes that talked about someone that's a confidant versus someone that may be a comrade. Or versus someone that may be a constituent. And, in many instances, we link up with these constituents. These are people that believe what we believe, and it's good until somebody doesn't believe that same thing anymore or has evolved, as you mentioned. So there's something to think about, is that you can actually link with someone and this person and you have similar beliefs and you're gelling so well and all is well, but then your beliefs start to change, or you evolve, or they evolve, and then now you're not in alignment because you don't really believe the same things. Because as you believe again, you start to what? You start to move different. And your beliefs, remember, your beliefs become your seeds. And those seeds that you sow, at some point when you go to reap them, that person may not be there with you because they weren't on that whole route for what it is that you started, that you started to plant, that you started to sow. So keep that in mind, all right? So your cat's still clowning. Never compromise on your core values. I agree with you, Morgan. Mike, I see you. Mike, you tripping, man? Got to be a cookie monster. You tripping? Oh wow, is therapy the last straw? No, Ali, therapy isn't the last straw. Unfortunately, we treat therapy like it's the last straw. One of the things, if you notice, if you come out to the relationship script, we often, utilize our network of practitioners, and we reach out to them and say, hey, listen, can you contribute, 1 or 2 sessions? And I call them checkup sessions. I call them relationship checkups. And that's what you need to do. Again, your relationship is a body, okay? And you need to get checked up, period. And you shouldn't go just when you're sick. Unfortunately, though, from a cultural standpoint, it's usually used as the trauma center, right? When all else has failed, then we decide to get into counseling. And we need to increase awareness about the fact that, you just need to have a relationship checkup. It's okay. You need to check in with your significant other and say, hey, you know what? Has anything changed? What's different? Different likes, different passions, agendas, motivations, things that you want to try out differently. We talked a little bit about this earlier today. So these are things that you want to do in your relationship. Is you want to get a relationship checkup, but also it's great if you can do that with a professional. So I encourage you, regardless of where you are in your relationship, get a checkup. And it's not always and it doesn't have to be, okay, what's wrong? It could be about what's right. And it could also create the kind of environment, just in case you're not doing that intentionally, create the environment where your significant other can communicate and feel kind of safe as they're doing that, okay? Calm before the storm. Any suggestions on how to meet people, where to go? How to meet people, where to go? Well, first thing, think about what is it that you like to do? What are your passions? What are your passions like? What are the things that entertain you, that keep you engaged? What is your why? What are some of the things that you may do outside of work or your workplace? What are some of those things? And because of that, you may actually have some, a spin-off in terms of places to socialize after work. It may be clubs or organizations to join. It could also be certain groups online that you may also want to join. So I think those are ways that you can meet people who have similar interests. Also, I would suggest that you step outside the box a little bit. Step outside your comfort zone and meet different people. Different people help make life exciting. They do add color to life. So talking with people who don't necessarily have the same views as you, or may not even work in the same industry. If you're white collar, talk to somebody who's blue collar. If you're blue collar, talk to somebody who's white collar. If you're in administrative or tech, talk to somebody that's, that's a mechanic or whatever. Or that's actually in the same arena, so to speak. But think about diversity in terms of where you may interact with people so that you can be in a space where perhaps some of your thoughts and your perspectives, your beliefs can be challenged. And that's another way to engage, to have some engaging conversation and something that's very rich. I see Pinet, you talking about therapy is a way to help, communicate better, give us tools. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. Look at it as a positive thing. I totally agree. Marcus Allen, what's up? Thanks for joining us, Big Boy. I see you. Kara, what's going on? All right, I know I got a couple minutes left. I'm running a little bit late, but I'm not going to go overboard because you know what the Grand will do. It will shut it all down. How do you sustain the fire in the bedroom when the honeymoon is over and realities of life, kids and finances, etc. set in? Well, number one, don't let it set in. Understand that it needs to be in its own category. I know that's very hard because we've heard of the term romance without finance is a nuisance. So talking about finance and all those things, let it have its own place, right? You gotta, you're a business in many ways, right? You gotta get those things squared away, but it stays in its own place. You as a family, that's another place. But there's your responsibility as a significant other, as a mate, to make sure that you keep that fire stoked. So what does that mean? That means having very deliberate and intentional dialogue with your significant other about the things that they like to do, checking in with them and making sure that on a regular basis, I'm not talking about every week, but on a regular basis here and there that you're doing things that they like. If they like flowers, get them flowers every once in a while. Can you always get it or you're always going to remember? I don't know. If it's that quality time, make sure that you have that quality time day locked down and do something that would be of mutually enriching, right? So just again, it takes energy. It takes energy. It takes energy. But at the end of the day, when you start thinking about it, the idea of what to do and all that stuff is also sexy in itself when it comes to lighting a fire under that person or in that person when it comes to the bedroom. So just think about that and be intentional about it. Make sure that it's something that it has its own lane, because mixing it all up, no, that's not sexy at all, okay? Hey, bro, this was a great conversation. Gotta bounce. See you soon, man. All right, Coordinator Tori, what up with you? I know I'm a couple minutes away from shutting it all down. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Follow up on the page with details on how to win. Check out with Wes. Thank you very much, Lydia, for reiterating that. Okay, save the date, August 30th. TRS, the relationship script, is jumping off at the Moshaloo. It's going to be off the chain. I need you. You know what? I have to remind my team to get the Eventbrite up so that you can get your early tickets, but it's going to be off the chain. Trust and believe. If you've ever been to the script, you can go ahead and comment on the kind of experiences you've had. It's a great experience. Nothing prescriptive. It's all, reflective of your interests, and we have so many different segments. So I'm down to just a couple of minutes. Let me see if there's anything else that's jumping out that I really need to address here. Thanks. I answered your question, Hot Face. Thanks. I appreciate that. I know you've been out the dating field for a while, but you got to jump back in, okay? All right. So what else we got going on? Everybody else good? Couples need to have a date night and connect. I totally agree with you. DM, if you're interested in supporting the event by way of sponsorship, if you have anybody that you think owns a business that is related to this whole world of the relationship script, it can be, anything from clothing to jewelry to travel to banks to life insurance. You can be a potential sponsor for the relationship script. We have some great packages. And trust and believe, you will definitely see your target audience when you come out to the event. We're also going to be sometime later this year. Catch us in DC. We're working out New York. Not exactly sure yet where we're going to be, but we're talking about that before the end of the year. And Atlanta, ATL. I'm going to see you guys very soon. As a matter of fact, I'll be down there for some business in August, as well in October. So I'm excited about that. If there's an area of this country that you want the TRS experience, let us know. DM us. Let me know what we can do, okay? And we'll work out the details. But at the end of the day, I hope that you all enjoyed Wednesdays with Wes. Please tune in next week. But what I need you to also to do is I need you to forward this, all right? I want this to continue to grow. I hope that you feel that you received information that was relevant, that was reflective of your interests, that was real time, and that you are, you feel comfortable sharing with other people of like mind. I have less than a minute to go. If I didn't answer your question, do me a favor. DM me your question, okay? I will answer it next week. If it's something that's urgent, I'll answer it right away. Within the next couple of days, that is, of course. And if it's something where you need to get in front of myself or another professional, no problem at all, okay? This is Donovan West, and this has been Wednesdays with Wes. It's been my pleasure to serve you. Please share. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then.